Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So we have a lot of new polls that got released today from several firms that were among the most accurate firms in the 2020 and 2016 presidential elections, and Donald Trump maintains a lead in most battleground states. We talk about the key 7 battleground states that are going to determine the outcome of this election. And we've heard a lot about Trump is faltering in the polls, this, that, and the other thing. But either way, what's true is that this is probably shaping up to be a close election regardless. There is evidence that Kamala Harris is peaking already. You're starting to see the level of energy kind of plateau. A lot of new polls are releasing this week that show Donald Trump gaining over about a week ago, or at least Kamala Harris faltering a bit. So we'll see what happens. Definitely, you got the DNC coming up, so it's possible she might gain a little bit. But again, convention bumps are usually very temporary, and this election's going to be won in the month of September for either side. And I'm not saying this to doom or whatever. I'm saying this to motivate people. It's a very important election. We cannot be caught off guard by the candidate swap. We need people to get out and vote. But again, you can't have people completely demoralized. And the more polling data we see, Donald Trump, he's definitely still in a very, very solid position to go out there and win this presidential election against Kamala Harris. And right now she's in her honeymoon phase. It might be waning, and that's true. But still, this is where she should be peaking. She should be running up, 5-10 points against Donald Trump. Usually, if you look at the 2020 polling, Joe Biden, he led by like 11 points in October. And even then, it took miracles for him to barely cross the finish line across several battleground states a few days after Election Day. We know this, so there's no reason for panic. There's reason for concern, but it's more of like a get out and vote type of concern, and maybe that would be a good thing, because if we get off our asses and get to the polling place on Election Day, or even, early voting whenever people want to vote, that's for the better. We need to make sure we get 85 million total votes, so we have enough people showing up against how many people they are going to have showing up, because they're trying to drum up this enthusiasm. It starts off as fake astroturfed enthusiasm, but again, it could start off that way, but we need to make sure we counter it if they are able to fake it until they make it, per se, regarding this election cycle. And again, Kamala Harris, she's a paper tiger. I've said it time and time again. Although her being the candidate that gets switched in about 3 months before Election Day is a lot different than her being the candidate that gets, put as the presumptive nominee about a year before Election Day, especially because they're just hiding her from the press and they're trying to just run this PR massive system in her favor. Is it going to backfire? It eventually will, and we need to do our part to make sure it does sooner than later so we can get Donald Trump across the finish line. But I wanted to look at the polls and see what they show today, because you have Trafalgar Group. They have been very accurate in presidential elections. 2022, they had a bumpy ride, and so did a lot of other pollsters, but do keep in mind that this far out, their polls were among the more accurate polls. You kind of did have a late response bias in favor of the Republicans after early voting started that a lot of these pollsters, especially statewide, were not really able to account for. And that's true. And Trafalgar has been extraordinarily cautious this cycle regarding the primaries, regarding some of these other races that we've seen. They've been very, very cautious. And they haven't released a lot of polls up to this point, but now they are. And it's important we have a look at them, because you look at these polls. Arizona, Donald Trump in the lead. If he gets Arizona, that's huge. He doesn't need it to win, but you definitely need one of Michigan, Arizona, and Pennsylvania if you are Donald Trump to win the election. You could win North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, Wisconsin. It would not be enough. You would fall short. You'd have to flip a state like Virginia to cross the finish line, and it's unlikely Virginia is going to vote to the right of a state like Pennsylvania. So you look at Arizona. Arizona's winnable. Arizona's flippable, in my opinion. Nevada, another state I think Trump is going to do well in. We talk about improvement among Hispanic voters in both states helps out. just doing better among the working class in Nevada, though, especially with the no tax on tips thing. That was basically a policy crafted in a lab to win a candidate in Nevada. And the fact that Trump pounced on that early was absolutely huge. The registration data for Republicans looks very good in both states compared to 2020. You're adding on net a decent amount of voters, a noticeable amount of voters overall. Those two states are going to be going in the Republican column, in my opinion, and the latest polling does seem to reflect that. We have nothing out of Georgia. There is a poll out of Michigan that has Kamala Harris leading by 2 points. But again, Michigan is going to come down to being a very close state at the end of the day. And it's a state that will be decided probably by, 20, 30,000 votes as things stand right now. But again, Donald Trump doesn't need to win Michigan to win the election. You look at a state like Wisconsin, he's up in the Marquette poll in the month of August, which is really unheard of for him to be up in any poll in Wisconsin, especially this far out. The fact is he's leading the average, I believe, in the state of Wisconsin, or it's basically neck and neck. It's essentially a tie. Keep in mind, the average on August 9, 2020, Biden by 6. Same thing with Hillary by 6 on August 9, 2016. The fact that Trump is neck and neck with Harris, combined with the fact that a lot of those white working class voters that usually only show up for Trump are very, very hard to reach in the driftless area, which is zooming to the right. I think it's fair to say Wisconsin is going to go for Donald Trump. North Carolina, you had a poll that was released, a poll that was relatively nonpartisan. Donald Trump leads that poll by 3 percentage points. And Trafalgar released a poll that has Trump up by 4. PPP, a Democrat poll, had Trump up by 4 over Harris. So I think that, again, this state, it's probably going to vote for Trump by around the margin you're seeing there. 3 to 4 points, I think, is more than fair. As of right now, I think that's what it's going to end up looking like at the end of the day. 262 to 241 for Donald Trump as things stand right now. And then you have Pennsylvania, which Trafalgar has Trump up by 2. I don't even know if there's that many undecideds, but every single poll we've seen between these two candidates has Donald Trump winning, or it's a dead heat tie. And Kamala Harris does not, as I've said, have the same ties to Pennsylvania, especially eastern Pennsylvania, that Trump had. If you had to craft a candidate in a lab to be a horrible fit for the state of Pennsylvania, it probably would be Kamala Harris. Her energy policies are disastrous for Pennsylvania. She really lacks that appeal to the white working class voters in northeastern Pennsylvania that maybe voted for Trump in 2016, turned around and voted for Biden in 2020, that Biden was already struggling with to begin with. And Trump is spending a hell of a lot of money in Pennsylvania and a hell of a lot of money in Georgia regarding ads. Those are two states. If you win both of those, nothing else matters, so long as you get North Carolina, which is probably the most likely state of that big 7 to go in his column at the end of the day. So Donald Trump is doing what he needs to do, and that's really what matters. He has been light on the campaign schedule. He will probably maintain a light campaign schedule until the DNC is over, which honestly might be smart. He's basically allowing Kamala Harris to trip over herself. And it's not like the guy didn't survive an assassination attempt literally not even a month ago, to the point where maybe he doesn't really want to be on the campaign trail every day. People are like, why is he going to Montana? Well, I mean, there's a Senate race up there. He's going to want the Senate. It's going to be closer than the presidential race. I don't really have a problem with that at all, him going up there campaigning for Tim Sheehy. He's kind of taking the week off, definitely fine-tuning some of that messaging more likely than not, and we're going to see where it exactly gets him down the stretch. But still, as things stand today, Donald Trump is still in a very, very good position to win the presidential election, and the polling shows it. And you have about 88, 87 days before people get out and voting. I don't want to see any dooming. I also don't want to see any complacency. I want people to get out and vote and then be our own ground game. Trump has a ground game, it's true, but the strongest ground game is us. You know, if we bring and we find somebody, everybody that voted for Trump finds somebody that they know who didn't vote last time to vote this time, you're going to rake in tens of millions of new voters just based off of that fact alone. So make sure we get out and vote, do our part, and we can deliver this victory, because it's going to be all the sweeter, especially now that the left is energized. If they end up losing, their souls are going to be crushed like there's no tomorrow, because with Biden, they're already planning for a defeat. Now it's like they think they're going to win 400 electoral votes again, just like they thought so in 2016 and 2020. So let's go out there and embarrass them once again. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.